Carolina Santos Neves. I'm one of the disruptors for Spark Network. We're here with Jen Batchelor, the founder of Kin Euphorics. I've had Kin in various ways. Love it, truly. So proud of you. But tell us, for those who don't know, how Kin came about.
Yeah. So first of all, for those who are new to Kin, the concept is pretty simple. We're the first clinically effective functional drink that's designed for the bar. And the reason why I wanted to make something like this was because my drinking habits and my social habits, specifically that surrounded alcohol, which so many of them do, were changing drastically and very quickly as I entered my 30s. Not only for the typical reasons that that people want to either abstain or moderate their consumption, like hangover, etc., but for the different goals that I had in my life. Whether it was enhancing and nurturing my fertility, or even just like showing up for my work in a more productive, more creative way. Alcohol just wasn't really fitting that framework. And I had multiple side hustles. And so I just couldn't afford downtime. And so I was really looking for a drink that would help me to nourish my brain, to help me stay in the pocket, but also still be sexy and fun. And something that I felt really proud to drink with friends when they were drinking alcohol. It was like a no judgment situation. So that's sort of how it came about. And now we have, drinks for 5 or 6 social occasions that help benefit certain parts of the psyche, the mind, the brain, as well as the body and hormonal balance.
So, it's been a wild year, 2020. What has the demand been like? I think I certainly heard people are drinking more, people are drinking less. How has it been for Kin?
Yeah, so it's really interesting actually what's happening with alcohol trends in relation to the pandemic. And this is true for most crises, but especially now that we have access to so much information, we have consumers becoming more and more conscious of what they're putting in their bodies, right? What we're actually seeing is that the growth of alcohol consumption is actually coming from within the heaviest drinkers. So you're actually seeing some attrition. You're seeing drinkers becoming non-drinkers more so than not in the pandemic, and trying to boost immunity, trying to help their sleep. But you're seeing those that are very loyal drinkers of alcohol. They're consuming more, they're spending more. So the difference is they're not buying cheap alcohol, they're buying premium tequilas and things like this. But it sort of stays in this sweet spot middle where they're not buying Natty Light, but they're also not buying Moet. So luxury alcohol is on the decline.
What do you think the rosé all day Instagram drinking culture, what do you think of that whole thought?
I mean, it's kind of crazy because and you asked how has Kin done this year? I mean, the pandemic was great for Kin. I think people are actually looking to support brands like ours and to dabble in categories like ours, which we call euphorics, in their pursuit of doing something better, but also identifying with that trend. And that's really exciting. And it's the opposite end of what you're talking about. Rosé all day. When you're touting that while we have a movement for Black lives happening, when we have an election happening, when we have a pandemic happening, you're not portraying the image of the American dream. You're not portraying, what we all sort of want to stand for, and these ideals of standing for your causes. I've been saying this for the longest time with Kin. When you're drunk, when you're hungover, when you're compromised in any way, you're robbing yourself of the ability to show up for your people, for yourself, for your causes. And we're all so driven, I think, by purpose that we can't afford to sleep on it. We can't afford to sit and be numb to what's happening around us. And so I think rosé all day, for many reasons, is sort of, going the way of the dinosaur. Not only that, but women who are sort of subscribed to that idea, rosé all day, which is predominantly a trend driven by women on social media, is something that is sort of relegated to the millennial. You look at 32 to 42-year-olds, that's really the demographic that's pushing that narrative. And those are the folks that are drinking way less as a response to the pandemic.
How would you describe the non-alcoholic industry? Is it supportive? Is it competitive? What other terms might one use?
My gosh, I mean, it's the Wild West right now for sure. What's exciting is that everything about, the category is being looked at right now from the standpoint of how can we elevate this experience, right? We went for years having O'Doul's really as the staple offering at most of these on-premise venues. And it was like, I'm not drinking. And it was like, all right, here's this really crappy tasting beer, or here's a glass of water, the size of my head with a black straw, and you're going to be marked for the whole night that you are the one not drinking and you are the one bringing the vibe down. And so the non-alcs that are hitting the market, you can well imagine, are very sophisticated. They are trying their best to either be a great mocktail, right, a substitute for the existing format of whether it's whiskey, gin, or tequila. And then you have kin on the very, very opposite ends of the spectrum that are actually wanting you to feel something great and to be doing something really good for your body. There's no right or wrong answer. It really depends on, what you're looking to accomplish. The great thing is bartenders are getting really, really creative with it. And they'll say, well, I want it to taste like gin, but I want it to feel like kin. And so they'll mix the two together and they'll create really, really interesting concoctions. So I think at large, it's supportive in that we understand that there's no one size fits all. There's really no like Nike of non-alc right now, so to speak. There really is a lot of education and support that we try to create for each other so that there's more awareness for this category. And I think there's an overall sense of pride in that as well, that the category is growing so quickly, and that we can help each other grow by helping consumers find their way, navigate their way through this sort of curiosity around sobriety.
Thank you. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2021. I'm gonna skip ahead to what's your favorite kin drink? And I always finish these interviews because food is my thing, and Jen and I have actually cooked many times together. But what's for dinner tonight? You're tuning in from Austin.
Yeah, I am. So I've been eating a lot of Tex-Mex, and I think what happens at home is I want to do the exact opposite of that because I couldn't possibly compete with all of the amazing Mexican food here. But my favorite kin drink to start there is a kin spritz. It's just so easy. I love it. Super chilled. It's our take on the Aperol spritz, of course. So there's gentian and licorice, and there's those like really complex bitters. There's also, orange bitters. So it does give you an adult beverage vibe. But it's 8 ounces. I don't like anything too big in my can because it just gets hot and I don't finish it. But something like that will open up the appetite, obviously, because the functionals are very, it's an homage to the aperitif. But I've been making a lot of like fresh fishes at home. So tonight I'm going to make some salmon. I have a Tuscan recipe with capers and sun-dried tomatoes and things like that I know I'll share with you.
Please share with me.
But that's what's on the menu tonight. And then we'll probably get gluttonous this weekend with barbecue and Tex-Mex again, because
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Thank you so much. I miss you so much.
Thank you.
And yeah, Kin is awesome, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time.
Of course.
Take care.
Bye.